Once again, hello everyone, I am Rosetta Orchestra, and today I will be talking about programming language or programming languages. Okay, so just like a human, a computer is having these languages to communicate. Okay, so it's not just as humans or as the person or the people, the community talks or communicate, but also the computer. It has languages, own language. This language is a bridge between humans and computer. So today I will talk about some of these important parts or important points about programming languages. So we have to learn the basic of programming languages, its rules, and how it works before we can do programming. Okay, so from my screen, as you can see, there are lots of icons, there are lots of pictures. Those are examples of programming languages. So we have Pascal, Node, PHP, we have JS, Microsoft.NET, C Sharp, we have Java, HTML, Python, Ruby. So there are lots of computer programming languages available in the market. Some are free and some are need to be both online. So you have to have the serial key so that you can use the other services. Okay, so if humans, so yung mga tao is nagsasalita, communicate. Halimbawa, dalawang tao nag-uusap, paano siya maintindihan ng isa? So dapat pareha sila ng language, dapat eksakto yung kanyang grammar, dapat may meaning yung kanyang sinasabi para maintindihan siya nung kanyang kausap. Yun, di ba? So sa computers ganun din. So it should have a common language. It should have or can be interpreted. It should have a proper grammar, and it should have a meaning. Because just like what I have said, computer program or programming languages is so much like the same with human language. In computer programming, we have these two basic but most important rule of programming language. So we call this two as semantic and syntax. Semantic is about the meaning, and syntax is about the grammar. Okay, so if you are trying to become a computer programmer, you have to understand first is the syntax. If you have chosen a programming language, let's say for example you have chosen Java programming language, so what are the syntax that is or that are applicable to Java programming? So pag-aaralan mo yun. Halimbawa, paano ba sa Java gumawa ng program na kapag nag-run yung program is may lalabas na hello world dun sa computer monitor mo, or kaya naman ay mag-change yung mga kulay ng computer monitor mo, mag-flicker or mag-send siya ng print job dun sa printer mo. So ganun. So, ano ba ang syntax doon? Ano bang grammar na pwede doon? So, syntax is equivalent to grammar in our own language, in human language. Like, so for example, in English. In English, the basic component of a correct grammar is one sentence should have a subject and a predicate. That is the basic, right? So, a sentence should be composed of a subject and a predicate. That is the very basic rule of uh, language of a sentence in English, right? So that is the grammar. Now in computer programming, we also have that one. We call it syntax. As you can see on my screen, we have there an example of system.out.print, and then you have this parentheses, and then you have this quotation marks, and then between those quotation marks is a phrase saying enter a number with a colon. So that command line is an example taken from Java or based from Java. So Java programming language will understand that command. And the meaning of that command is to send an output or to create an output, to display an output, to display enter a number in your screen. So that value in between your quotation mark, enter a number with colon, that will be displayed on your monitor screen using the command system.out.print. So if you have written a system.out without the word print or the keyword print, it will not display the enter a number. You will have a syntax error, meaning wrong grammar. Mali yung pagkagawa mo ng grammar mo sa Java. So hindi niya maiintindihan yung system.out tapos print a number agad. Nawala yung keyword na print. Parang kung sa English yan, nawala yung predicate. Yung subject lang mayroon. Ang subject dyan is yung enter a number. So anong gagawin niya sa enter a number? System.out, pwede maintindihan natin yon as human, pero parang kulang. Sa computer programming, hindi pwede yung kulang. Dapat andun lahat yung kailangan niya sa command. Pag system.out lang, maintindihan natin na we are telling the machine or the system itself to produce an output from the word out. But what kind of output? We could say an output like music, a sound, a printed text on your printer, that is also an output, right? So what kind of output you're going to produce or you want to produce with your command? So dapat kumpletuhin. So system.out.print is the correct grammar or the correct syntax to display the enter a number in your monitor screen. So the meaning of that one is output. As you can see in the left side, under the semantic, so the meaning of system.out.print enter a number, that command means output, to produce an output. So it's not, in computer programming, it's not enough that you know the syntax. Actually, what is the most important here is the two. You know the syntax, and then you know the meaning or the semantic. How can you use the syntax without knowing the meaning of that syntax? Hindi mo alam yung semantic niya, hindi mo alam yung meaning niya. So, paano mo siya gagamitin? Hindi mo malalaman kung paano mo siya gamitin, kailan mo siya gagamitin, kailan mo hindi siya dapat gamitin. So, in computer programming, this is a misconception about other people or person or other aspiring computer programmer, na yung akala nila kailangan mo i-memorize yung code lahat. Although yes, pwede mong i-memorize, pero hindi lang hanggang doon. Dapat alam mo din yung meaning niya, alam mo din yun kung paano siya gamitin. Dapat naintindihan mo yung syntax na yun, yung code na yun. One line of code, kailangan alam mo kung para saan yun. Hindi sapat na na-memorize mo yun. System.out.print, okay, memoryado ka yun. Diba, system.out.print, tapos mayroon siyang parenthesis, tapos inside that parenthesis meron siyang quotation mark, tapos sa pinakadulo niya meron siyang semicolon. So yun diba? Pero ang tanong, para saan yun? Anong purpose ng grammar na yun, ng syntax na yun, ng code na yun? Kung hindi mo alam, kung hindi mo maipaliwanag, bakit mo gagamitin yun? Bakit mo ilalagay mo yun dun sa program mo? Ano ba purpose nun? So, dapat alam mo yung semantic niya, alam mo yung meaning niya. Kailangan ko mag-print ng enter number sa monitor screen. Siyempre, gagamitin ko si system.out.print. So, ganun yung computer programming. You have to learn the syntax and the semantic. It's not enough that you know or memorize the syntax. What is the 50% of it is the semantic. It's not enough na syntax lang yung alam mo. So dapat alam mo din yung semantic, alam mo yung meaning niya. Like for the next example, int container. It means you are declaring a variable container, named container, with a data type integer. Okay, so in mathematics we have these variables. We have variable x, y, o, z, b, a, lots of variables. Now in computer programming, although it's not really about mathematics, but some of the principles from mathematics are applied in computer programming, and one of this is having a variable. So in this example, the word or the term container is a representation of a variable. Sometimes you could use a single letter variable like variable a, variable b, variable c, but when you're working in a company, when you're working with a team, it is better to use a specific term or word or alias for your variable. Mas madali kasi intindihin yun. Itong variable na to, ang dapat na content nito, ang dapat na value nito is ganito, ganyan. Pag halimbawa sinabi kong int double salary, so yung double is yun yung decimal, yung pwede tumanggap ng value na may fraction, 1.2, 1.3, 60.8, yung ganon. So kabaliktaran naman din yun sa int, kagaya yan sa example ko na int is integer. It also means the term container or the variable container will accept numbers but only whole number. It will not accept fraction. So if we say double, it means pwede siyang tumanggap ng mga value na may fraction or yung hindi buo, yung 1.2, 1.5, yung ganun. So halimbawa is gumawa ko ng program na yung program ko is about sales. So kapag sales, nang tinitingnan natin dito is may amount, may money, may pera. So yung pera hindi palaging buo yan. Minsan may mga point yan. 300.52 cents, yung ganun. So for example, yung program ko is patungkol doon sa sales. So pwede ko gawing ganito, double. So instead of int container yung nandyan, palitan natin ng double double total sales. Yung total sales, yun yung variable, yun yung container, bali yun yung lalagyan ng value ng total sales, yung mismong amount ng total sales. So ginawa natin siyang full word total sales para kapag ikaw ay gumagawa ng program within a team, so hindi lang ikaw yung gumagawa, meron kang mga kasama. Pag tiningnan nila yung code mo, alam nila kung ano ang purpose ng variable na ginamit mo. Pag tingin nila total sales, okay, para sa total sales, so mas madali siya maintindihan. So ganoon ang ginagawa natin sa computer programming. So hindi lang basta-basta na naglalagay ka ng mga variable na vague or yung parang hindi ka agad naiintindihan kung para saan yung yung variable na yon. So yun. So isa yan sa example ng syntax, di ba? End container. So ano naman ang meaning niyan? If I compare it to the semantic, on the other side, it says memory allocation. Memory allocation means you are trying to create a space within the memory of the computer. You are trying to prepare a space na pwede siya lagyan ng value. Ba yun yung pinakapunto in mathematics, yung variable is yun, container siya, pwede siya lagyan ng value, pwede siya lagyan ng laman. Yan, diba, sa mathematics. So in computer programming, that end container is or acts like the one in mathematics. It is also a container. It is also a variable that holds a value. So what kind of value? Integer. At it says in the example, it is int or int. That means whole value number, integer. So the word container is a variable that will accept whole number. The meaning of that line, int container, is a memory allocation. So there are lots of memory allocation type, not just having the int. Kagaya ng sabi ko nila, pwedeng double, pwede string, gano'n. So pag-usapan natin yon, but later part na. Then on the next example, we have this container scanner that next end. So it means input. Yun. So kung sa second line, declare tayo ng isang variable container. So sa pangalawa naman is pangatlo na linya naman is container equals scanner dot next end. Meaning yan, lalagyan natin ngayon ng value yung variable container. So halimbawa si user, yung gumagamit ng program mo, nagpindot siya ng 5. Yung 5 na yun is doon natin ilalagay sa container na variable. So ngayon yung dineclare natin or yung binuo nating container na integer type or whole number lang yung tatanggapin niya, sa third line na container equals scanner dot next end, nilagyan na natin siya ng 5. Yun yung nag-type na si user ng number 5. After that, meron tayong example naman sa baba na operation. So yung container is i-times 2 natin yung laman niya. So halimbawa kanina nilagyan natin siya ng 5. So magiging ang meaning niyan ngayon nung last line is container equals 5 times 2. So ang mangyayari is yung laman ng container magiging 10. Dinoble natin kasi 5 yung nilagay natin kanina, tapos nag times 2. Yung asterisk dyan, meaning nyan is multiplication, multiply. So the value inside the variable container will be multiplied by 2. So that is the meaning of that syntax. Meaning operation. What kind of operation? Multiplication. Ano yung minultiply niya? Yung 5 na isinlead natin sa container na variable is dinoble. So 5 times 2, that means naging 10 yung value ni container. So yun yung kaibahan ng syntax at ng semantic. So hindi enough na alam mo kung paano i-type yung code, memoryado mo yung code, tapos hindi mo alam kung ano yung gamit ng code na yun. Dapat alam mo yung syntax, tapos alam mo yung semantic. Para alam mo kung kailan mo gamitin, kailan mo hindi dapat gamitin, at paano siya gamitin, ano yung purpose niya. So, yun yung pinaka dapat lagi mong iisipin when you're going to create a program, the syntax and semantic. Ganito yon. Hindi mo kailangang pag-aralan lahat ng computer ng programming languages. Kapag naging master ka sa isang programming languages, tapos lumipat ka sa isang programming language, hindi na ganoon kahirap yon. So, hindi mo kailangang sabayin na pag-aralan yung dalawang programming language, or sabihin mo na hindi ka marunong gumawa ng program sa Java kung sa .NET ka lang gumagawa ng program. Hindi ganoon yun. Kasi halos lahat ng code na ginagamit sa, for example, sa Visual Basic or sa .NET is ganun pa rin yun pagdating sa Java. Ang mangyayari lang siguro is may kaibahan konti sa syntax. So, yung i-master mo na lang is, halimbawa galing ka ng .NET, lumipat ka ng Java, ang i-master mo na lang is yung syntax ng Java. Pero yung semantic, ando na yon, given na yon kapag galing ka na sa ibang program. Halimbawa, itong sa example na pinakita ko, yung int container, that is from Java. So, int container. Kapag lumipat ka ng .NET, nagiging ano na yan, dim container as integer. Okay? So, try natin. Susulat tayo ng example. So, halimbawa, sa Java is ito yon, int container. Yan yung variable declaration ng Java. Paglipat mo ng .NET, ganito na yon, dim container as integer. Yan. So, kung sa nakikita mo, magkaiba yung syntax nila. Ito yung syntax ng Java, at ito naman yung syntax ng .NET. Pero yung semantic nila walang nagbago. Yung meaning nila walang nagbago. Ang meaning nitong int containers ng Java is to allocate a memory, to create a space wherein dito na nato ibutang ang ato ang value. Okay? So, a space in your memory where you could put a value like 5, 10, 20, 300, any whole number because it is int or integer type. Yung sa .NET naman, although nagiba yung syntax, naging dim container as integer, ganun pa rin yung meaning. Nag-allocate tayo ng isang space doon sa memory mo, pinangalanan natin container, na yung container na yon or yung variable na yon or yung space na yon is pwede siyang tumanggap ng mga whole number lang. Kasi ginawa natin is binigyan natin siya ng data type na integer. So, ganun lang yan. So, same yung semantic. Ang nag-iba lang is yung syntax. Kaya sinasabi ko, kapag galing kayo sa isang programming language, pinag-aralan nyo mabuti yon, inintindi nyo yon, paglipat nyo ng kabilang programming language, hindi mo na pahihirapan yung sarili mo na intindihin yung semantic. Yung syntax na lang, halimbawa, mapapaisip mo na lang. Kung sa Java is system.out.print, yung ginagamit ko kapag gusto ko mag-display ng output sa aking monitor screen, ano kaya ang equivalent nun dito sa .NET? So, yun na lang yung iisipin mo. Okay? So halimbawa, itong operation na to, paglipat mo dun sa .NET, hindi magbabago yan, ganun pa din yan. Ang mawawala lang dyan is yung semicolon. So kung sa Java is container equals container asterisk 2 or multiplied by 2, paglipat mo ng .NET is ganun pa rin, container equals container asterisk or multiplied by 2, pero ang mawawala lang is yung semicolon. So may pagbabago sa syntax, pero yung meaning is or semantic is still the same. So ganun yun yung computer programming. So masterin mo muna yung isang programming language, tapos saka ka lumipat sa ibang programming language. Intindihin mo muna yung mga semantic ng mga code, kung ano yung mga guess, paano ba maglabas ng output, paano ba mag-take ng input, paano ba yung mga operation, paano ba gumawa ng formula. So yung mga ganon, katulad ng if else statement, do while, for loop, switch case. So yung ganon, intindihin mo muna yon bago ka lumipat ng programming language. Paglipat mo, yung if else ng pinanggalingan mong programming language, ganun pa din yun sa lilipatan mong programming language. Ganun pa din yung meaning ng if else statement or yung do while or yung for loop ng Java. Pagdating mo ng .NET, ganun pa din yung meaning niya. Ang magbabago lang is yung syntax. Halimbawa, pinakamagandang halimbawa is kapag sinabi kong ako ay Pilipino, yun ay Tagalog, di ba? Ako ay Pilipino. Meaning nun, sinabi ko sa inyo na ako ay Pilipino. Inamin ko na ako ay isang Pilipino. Sa Tagalog, bigla kong pumunta ng Amerika, na United States. So alangan naman magtatagalog ako doon. Hindi ako maintindihan ng mga tao. So anong gagawin ko? Sasabihin ko, I am a Filipino. Nagiba, di ba? Yung sa Tagalog, ako ay Pilipino. Sa English, I am a Filipino. Yung Pilipino naging Filipino. Yung ako ay naging I am. Ako ay Pilipino. I am a Filipino. So kung titingnan mo, yung word magkaiba, pero yung meaning ganun pa din. Sinabi ko na ako ay Pilipino in Tagalog and in English. So ganun din yung mga computer programming. Ang nag-iba is yung syntax, which we could say a grammar, pero yung meaning is still the same. So ganun yun. So dapat pakaintindihan nyo yun. And then we have this two different level of programming language. We have the low and high level programming language. So as you can see in the screen, these are the comparison of high level language and low level language. So for high level language, these are interpreted, but in low level language, it is a direct memory management. They have open classes and message styles, methods which are known as dynamic constructs. But on the other hand, in low level language, hardware has extremely little abstraction, which is actually close to having none. And then for the high level language, we have this poor performance, but the low level language much faster than high level. Then the codes are concise in high level language, while statements correspond directly to the clock cycles in low level. Then super performance but hard to write in low level language. Flexible syntax and easy to read for high level language. So that means when we say super performance but hard to write, mas madali siya na i-perform ni computer yung low level language kasi closer to machine language na yun, closer to the language of your central processing unit ang code, pero it is hard to write. Mas mahirap siya gawin kasi instead na parang human language yung gagamitin mo sa code, is yung mismong language na halos ng computer ang gagamitin mo. Halimbawa, makita ka doon na 01001 binary, hexadecimal, yung mga ganun. Hindi kompleto, hindi ka makakabuo ng perfect word na English word, different as in contrast to the high level language, yung flexible syntax and easy to read. Kasi halos lahat ng nasa high level programming languages are using English language. There are certain words. So and then in high level language is object oriented and functional, while on low level language is few support and hard to learn. So matagal pag-aralan yung sa low level language kasi nga yung parang pinag-aralan mo na mismo yung pinaka-utak nung machine. Paano ba nag-uusap yung machine? Okay? Then, the high level language has large community kasi nga mas madali siyang intindihin. So, maraming gumagamit. And then, to further understand the difference or the gap between high level programming language and low level language, so as you can see on the screen, for the high level programming language, we have this C, C++, C#, Java, and other programming languages. So yung style ng code niya is parang gumawa ka ng sentence talaga na purely English. Class, simple. Public static void main string arg, system.out.print, system.out.print ln. So yun, halos English na yung ginagamit, English word na yung ginagamit, di ba? So halos English term, mas madali maintindihan. Pag sinabi pa lang system, papasok agad sa utak mo, ito about to sa computer. Pag sinabing output ito. Pag sinabing print, i-display dun sa computer monitor. So anong i-display? Hello Java. So parang ganun. Pero kapag dun ka sa low level programming language like assembly, yung mga sinaunang pwede natin sabihin mga sinaunang computer programming language. So halimbawa nandyan sa screen is mov edx, len, mov scx, msg. So parang abbreviation or parang ano lang. So hindi siya full word na English. So wala kang magiging idea kagad kung anong ibig sabihin nun, diba? So meron pang edx is ecx, ebx, eax, 0 times 8, 0. So yung mga ganon, so mga direct addresses yun, mga address na yun ng computer memory or ng central processing unit mo kaya, or yung ng isang hardware na connected dun sa computer mo, ginawan mo ng program, halimbawa ng speaker, or yung ROM na pwede mo yung i-access through program. Automatic siya mag-open, automatic siya mag-close, maglo-load, mag-play. So yun, so mga addresses na yun yung nasa assembly, yung nasa low level programming languages. So hindi mo kaagad mamamaster yun sa dami ng addresses na pwede mong gamitin. So ganun kahirap pag-aralan yung low level languages kasi nga mas closer siya dun sa machine language. Yung sinasabi nating machine language is yun yung pinaka language ng computer, yung parang binary na yung 101011, yung ganun. Okay, so different dun sa high level programming language na halos English language yung ginagamit. Yung mga term is in English form, mas madali siya maintindihan ng tao. So yun yung kaibahan ng high level programming language at low level programming languages. And then if you are writing a computer program, so we have these two types of ways or two ways on how to execute. Paano natin pagaganahin yung gumawa ka ng program, tapos ka na sa program, or kahit hindi ka pa tapos, gusto mo siya i-test kung meron bang error, successful ba, tama ba ang output, yung ganun. So ang nag-handle dun is yung tinatawag nating compilers and interpreters. So this is how the compiler works. Yung nasa screen, yung sa itaas, yung sa baba naman, that is how interpreter works. mula sa source code or yung mismong ginawa mong code. Kapag compiler yung ginagamit mo, so mula sa source code pasa dun sa compiler, kino-compile niya, gumagawa siya ng isang buong parang executable file. Kino-convert niya doon ang code mo. Yung source code mo, halimbawa yung kanina, yung sa high level programming language, yung public static void main, system.out.print, kino-compile niya yan, kino-convert niya into machine code. Pagkatapos ng i-convert sa machine code, syempre maiintindihan na siya ngayon ng computer mo. So yun, magrarun na siya, magkikreate na siya ng output. So ganoon yun. Sa compiler, yung mga programming languages na gumagamit ng compiler, yung source code is hindi kaagad naiintindihan yun ng computer. Kasi nga, halos English yung ginagamit natin. System.out.print, yung English word yun, di ba? So hindi makakaintindi agad ng English word yung computer natin. So kailangan niya i-compile, kailangan niya i-convert into machine code. Siguro i-convert niya into binary like 1001 para maintindihan niya, para makabuo siya ng output, makakreate siya ng output, ng result. Unlike sa interpreter, since most programming language that uses interpreters belongs to the low-level programming language. So not all but most of it belongs to the low-level programming language. And then low-level level programming language are programming languages that is closer to the machine language. So hindi na siya kailangan pang kino-compile, convert into machine code, and then run. Ang nangyayari is from source code, ini-interpret na lang, iniintindi na kaagad, then labas yung output. So kung titingnan natin dito sa diagram na to, is mas mabilis yung interpreter magtrabaho kaysa kay compiler. Pero yung sa mga interpreter is kadalasan is sa mga low level programming language, so mas mahirap siya pag-aralan, although mas madali siya perform, i-execute. But and later, so halimbawa gumagawa ka na ng program, yung isa is gumagamit ng compiler, yung isa is gumagamit ng interpreter, makikita mo na mas advantage pala yung gumagamit ng compiler. Kasi kapag na-compile na yung program mo, yung mismong parang executable na yung pinapaandar mo or pinaparan mo. Unlike dun sa gumagamit ng interpreter, kailangan mo pa i-open yung source code, so pwede siya makopya. Pwede siya makopya ng iba kasi kailangan mo pang ipakita yung code before mo siya iparan at makapag-create ka ng output. Unlike dun sa compiler, na kino-compile mo siya, pwede mo itago yung code. Yung compiled file na lang yung ibigay mo, hindi niya yun makikita ang code. Parang executable na yun, parang exe na yun. So yun na yung magra-run. So for further explanation, parang ganito yan. Compiled languages have to go through a compiler before they are executed. As you can see, the compiler converts a program into machine code so that it can be understood by the computer. Okay, so the benefit of compiled languages are that once compiled, they tend to run much faster than interpreted language or languages. So compiling only has to be done once. So isang beses mo lang siya i-compile. Tapos yung compiled file, pwede mo na yun i-rerun. Okay, without having to change or to open your source code. Yung pinaka-code talaga yung ginawa mo, yung tinype mo na code. Hindi mo na kailangan pang ipakita yon sa iba. Yung compiled file na lang yung paparaan mo. So hindi pwede makopya yung code mo. Yung pinaka-advantage ng compiled language. Disadvantage naman ng compiled language is minsan is very specific siya sa isang machine. As you know, we have different operating system like Windows operating system. We have this Mac operating system which is under Apple. So pag yung program mo is compiled siya sa Apple, hindi siya magra-run dun sa PC. Probably maghahang. Mas lalo na kung galing ka sa PC or sa Windows, dun ka nag-compile ng program, tapos ipaparaan mo siya dun sa Mac operating system, magkakaroon ka talaga ng error. Kasi mostly compiled programs are based on the current operating system na ginagamit ng programmer, kung saan siya gumagawa ng program. Pag compile niya, yung compiled file is yung parang naka-hook na siya dun sa operating system na ginamit ni programmer. So kapag dilipat siya sa ibang operating system na hindi kasali dun or hindi belong dun sa kumpanya ng original computer kung saan ginawa yung program, magkakaroon ng problema. So yun yung isa sa mga disadvantage ng compiled languages. Unlike interpreted language that are converted to machine code, are not converted to machine code. Instead, any program or source code written in this language are directly read line by line by an interpreter. So diretso siyang binabasa. Using an interpreted language allows to faster coding and testing because it can run and give results immediately. So agad siya nagbibigay ng error. Yung nararan mo yung program, agad siya nagbibigay ng error. What also good about this language is that it can be used on multiple platforms. So since hindi siya kino-compile, yung source code mo, yung pinaka-source code mo, pwede mo iparun sa ibang machine, sa ibang computer na gumagamit ng ibang operating system. Like, first, ginawa mo siya dun sa Windows, pero bigla-bigla lumipat ka dun sa Mac. Since hindi siya naka-compile, so broken source code or raw code pa lang siya. So pag naran mo siya doon sa kabilang machine, pwede siyang mag-run kasi hindi siya compiled, hindi siya naka-anchor or naka-hook doon sa previous machine na ginamit mo, unlike doon sa compiled na kapag kinumpile mo siya, yung machine language niya is naka-hook doon sa kung ano yung structure ng machine language na ginagamit nung computer na ginagamit ng programmer based sa kanyang operating system. So pag galing sa Mac, raw source code, lipat sa PC or Windows base, ayos lang kapag interpreted language. Pero kapag compiled language, yun, mahirap. Siguro kailangan mo pa ng emulator para pwede siya mag-run sa ibang platform tawag natin doon. So a disadvantage is that since it always interprets the code as the code is executed, it can make it much slower than using a compiled language. Python, Perl, Ruby are popular examples of interpreted languages. So agad-agad siyang kasi binabasa siya line per line. First line, second line. Pag may error yung second line, display agad yung error. Ganun. Is a compiled program is binabasa muna lahat yung buong program, tapos gawa ng equivalent na machine code, tapos saka siya run. Pag may error, saka siya magdi-display. So mas mataas yung process ni compiled language, pero isang basis lang i-compile. Sa interpreted language, every time na execute mo siya, mag-i-interpret siya from first to end. After nyan, pag i-rerun mo na naman, i-interpret na naman niya line per line. So mas matagal. Yun yung disadvantage niya. Okay? So I hope you have learned something from my discussions today, from a discussion about these topics. So we have the computer languages, and then we have the syntax and semantic. We have this low and high level programming languages with examples, and then the compilers and interpreters. So those are the common and important points you have to remember when you are going to create a program or you are an aspiring computer programmer. So yun dapat hindi mo kalimutan, because yun yung mga pinaka-importante sa programming languages. So pinaka-importante na basic, so sa basic muna tayo. So for advanced level of computer programming, iba naman yun, lahi na pod ang ato ang atimanon dito nga part. So for this, because it is about basic, so those are the basic and the most common key points na kailangan mong ilagay sa utak mo kapag gusto mo maging marunong sa computer or paggawa ng computer program or ng program. So wag mong kalimutan yung syntax and semantics, yung low and high level program, yung interpreted at compiled language. Yun ang pinaka-importante. So if there are anything you are having doubt about the discussion, kung meron kayong mga tanong pa or you have other queries about these topics, you can comment your questions in the comment section, or you can message me on my Facebook account. Just look for Orchestra Seth. So that is my Facebook account, Orchestra Seth, and then, or you can email me at orchestraroseto@gmail.com. By the way, I will include that information in the description of this video, so that I can create a follow-up video discussion regarding on your queries, questions. But if it's simple as I can answer your questions on the comment section, so hindi na din natin gagawan pa ng isa pang video. Siguro dun na kaagad sa comment section natin sasagutin yung mga tanong, kung kaya natin sagutin kaagad. Pero kung hindi naman, yung mga tipong kailangan pa talaga ng i-explain, kailangan pa talaga gawan pa ng isa pang video, so gagawa natin ng additional video, follow-up video. So yun po ang ating topic ngayon, at mabuhay kayong lahat. Thank you.